Good afternoon, everyone. As Mike's just mentioned, I came into Lloyd's in the late 1970s and spent half of my career as a marine broker and then went over to the underwriting side. Galleon's been formed for just over 6 years now, and we issue policies on behalf of various Lloyd's syndicates. I'd like to thank Mike and his team for asking me to give a short presentation on the future of Lloyd's. It's very unusual for me to be allowed to speak for such a long time, as I never usually get the same chance at home or at work. I would also like to congratulate Captain Bill McDonald, who I'm not sure is here today. No, okay. Past and present presidents, all those associated with the Institute, and of course all the finalists and Silver Jubilee winners. You should be very proud of what has been achieved to date, and what undoubtedly will be achieved over the next 25 years and beyond. Okay, so I'm going to multitask now, and I think I'll skip one. Yeah. Firstly, I would like to mention that I have taken the liberty of adapting my subject, as I believe you can't address the future without mentioning the past and the present. I also consider marine insurance as being synonymous with Lloyd's. I plan to take a brief look at the history of Lloyd's and some of the major events that have happened over the years to the present, and then finish with my thoughts as to the future. Of course, the Institute and Lloyd's have a close relationship, and I think it's very fitting that today's events are being held here in the old Lloyd's Library. As for the past, Lloyd's has already been on a long journey and has grown in over 328 years to become the world's leading market for marine insurance. From its early days in Edward Lloyd's coffee house, where merchants met to exchange shipping information, and the idea of pooling risk and spreading risk was first conceived. This has since developed from the individual name providing the financial support into the present marketplace, where mainly large corporations provide the capacity to enable syndicates to trade on the underwriting floors above where we sit today. Yeah. As far as more recent history is concerned, this building was opened in 1986, which was soon followed by some very tough years at Lloyd's. In the early 1990s, around the time when the Institute was first formed, there were 401 trading syndicates with 33,000 individual names and a premium income of about $13 billion. This was soon to change when many individual names suffered serious financial loss in the early 1990s, followed by unimaginable spiralling losses, which was to alter the shape of Lloyd's in the future. In 1996, Lloyd's implemented its reconstruction and renewal plan, headed up by the then chairman Sir David Rowland. It put an end to market-wide litigation with names, as well as draw a line under prior year losses with the formation of Equitas, which was a UK authorised reinsurer. This effectively allowed names to reinsure their losses into Equitas and bring this unfortunate chapter in Lloyd's history to a close. Despite this hardship, and to highlight the resilience and financial strength of Lloyd's, I thought it might be useful to remind ourselves of some of the major casualties over recent years. It's difficult to provide you with exact figures and how much of these apply to the Lloyd's market, but I hope this gives you a reasonable idea of the magnitude based on current values. So, of course, the World Trade Center, part of the New York Port Authority, and as we all know, 2 aircraft hijacked by terrorists struck the Twin Towers, causing apparently $23 billion worth of damage. Those images will remain with most of us for the rest of our lives, I think. Hurricane Katrina, 2005. One of the costliest natural disasters, with losses estimated as high as $60 billion. Deepwater Horizon, 2010. First the rig exploded, then there was a blowout and subsequent oil spill. Current estimates are anything up to $6 billion. This includes the huge clean-up costs as well as losses to local businesses. Costa Concordia, of course. 2012 grounding. She was on her first, as we all know, first leg of a Mediterranean cruise carrying 4,200 people when the vessel deviated from her planned route, hit rocks and grounded on her side, resulting in the biggest salvage operation in history. The overall loss could reach $2 billion. I have an admission to make because I don't think my maths is very good, because I noticed this morning that we have salvage costs of $2 billion plus the hull at 500,000. But I think it'll probably be about $2 billion. I think, not sure, but I think the salvage op was just over $1 billion and maybe rising the total loss. Tianjin explosion in 2015. Still quite a bit of speculation surrounding the size of this loss, which could be as high as $6 billion. This was caused by explosion of containers carrying hazardous chemicals, which led to the loss of 300 buildings, 12,500 vehicles, 7,500 containers, as well as loss of life. So moving to the present. It now seems everything is at our fingertips. We exchange information 24/7, and we have easy access to most information on the web. Here are some interesting information about Lloyd's as of today. Today there's 84 groups of syndicates, and with an estimated premium income of £25.28 billion. The combined premium income spread over Lloyd's and the London company market is estimated to be a huge £48 billion. Dollars again, sorry. Lloyd's continues to expand its reach around the globe, has an underwriting platform in Singapore, which has been running for probably about 5 or more years now, and has representative offices in China, Dubai, and soon to be India. Lloyd's have paid £63 billion worth of claims over the last 5 years. There continues to be a very strong chain of security in place, with £46 billion worth at syndicate level, plus 18 billion with members' funds, plus 3 billion of central fund assets. There are 242 brokers and over 4,000 cover holders, just like Galleon, we're a cover holder, bringing business into Lloyd's. However, this may all sound very good, and it is, but I do wonder whether this drive to expand is sustainable at the present level. Even in our somewhat small sector of the market, there is already too much competition. Of course, healthy competition is good, but I am concerned that the overcapacity that exists today, this may fuel poor long-term results by some. This is why it is important to carefully choose who you insure with, as well as your specialist broker. Don't always be attracted by the low premiums and deductibles at present. This may well be short-lived. So, moving on to the Insurance Act. The new Insurance Act came into effect on the 12th of August this year, so quite recent. It represents the greatest change to commercial insurance law in this country for over 100 years. The new legislation is seeking to create a fairer balance between the insured and insurers. The principle of utmost good faith is replaced with a duty of fair presentation. The Act creates a positive need on the insurer to ask further questions if necessary and not, for example, rely on a single document, such as a proposal form. The information provided in the proposal form should simply influence the underwriter as part of his or her risk review process. Previously, a breach of warranty terminated the policy from the moment of the breach. There did not need to be any connection with a claim and the breach. The new Act suspends cover and can be reinstated once the breach has been remedied. It allows the insured the opportunity to argue the relevance of the breach in relation to the particular loss. A good example of this is when the super yacht Galatea became a total loss in 2011. She was insured for all risk cover with an agreed value of 13 million euros, which was the same as the 2007 purchase price. Sometime before the loss, the yacht was put up for sale at 8 million euros. Insurers successfully rejected the claim on the grounds of non-disclosure of the real value at the time of the loss. Under the new Act, the claim would have succeeded, but only for 8 million euros, so quite a big difference there. So, turning now to the future. As I don't have my crystal ball with me, it's somewhat difficult to be precise here, and who knows what lays ahead. Nor can I see myself working to the age of 84 and waiting to see what actually happened in these 25 years, as I'm sure my colleagues will have a say in this. What I can say, however, is that Lloyds is in a very strong position both financially and in terms of innovative underwriting. Whilst Lloyds continues to spread its reach around the world, this will bring new and exciting opportunities. Of course, with the UK's pending departure from the European Union, this will bring its own regulatory and compliance-related challenges. But I am hopeful that once we get through this, it will make it easier to trade with most countries and ultimately put Lloyds in a much stronger position. I really cannot see that the total number of syndicates will be reducing, but what I can see is some of the more outward-looking syndicates becoming stronger. Sticking to the more traditional insurance products relating to ships, aircraft and property has held Lloyds in good stead in the past. But there are other challenges to be faced. These challenges already include satellites and renewable energy, to name a few. As touched on earlier, there is no limit to the unceasing advances in technology. Every business is completely dependent on it, whether, for example, it's helping with survey measurements, loss investigation, reporting, making and receiving a payment, and so on. We've already seen major advances in automated warehousing systems and robot technology. Lloyds is at the forefront of ensuring such warehouses as part of the logistics chain of getting goods delivered from the point of manufacture to your door as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Right, move on. I think this is quite a common theme this morning, isn't it? So, and I think the same picture as well. But, yeah. Philip discussed this earlier in much more detail, but I read recently that Rolls-Royce aimed to launch their first remote control ship by 2020, which is probably, by the sounds of it, a bit too optimistic. As was discussed, the vessel would be monitored and controlled by a captain, which I understand will be could be stationed anywhere in the world. The ship would be able to travel faster, as well as being more efficient and cheaper to operate. It would maximise cargo space by doing away with a bridge and living quarters, for example. I'm sure Lloyds will be fully behind such initiatives, providing questions such as theft and piracy, as well as computer system breaches and IT failures can be satisfactorily answered. Cyber. Cyber is one of the biggest growth areas in Lloyds, which reflects personal and business dependence on IT systems and controls. In turn, this brings with the risk of cybercrime and cyber attack. Lloyds report that cyber attacks are increasing in frequency across the world. Reported attacks were up 48% in 2013 levels to 42.8 million in 2014. The equivalent of just over 117,000 attacks a day. Not only has the frequency increased, so too is the cost of managing and mitigating these breaches. The estimated reported average financial loss from cyber security incidents around the world in 2014 was $2.7 million, a 34% increase on the 2013 figure. This increase in attack frequency and severity is reflected in the increasing amounts of business now written in Lloyd's. In 2015, the Lloyd's market wrote £322 million worth of cyber policies, up from £206 million in 2014. In 2016, this is expected to rise to £500 million and £1.9 billion by the year 2025. Currently, more than 80% of Lloyd's market cyber premium comes from the States, with only 6% from the UK and, of course, the balance from the rest of the world. Globally, some analysts estimate the world's cyber insurance market could be worth $18 billion in 25 years' time. Drones. Another area of change for the future will be the increasing use of drones. We've seen an incredible uplift in the use of drones over recent years. This goes hand in hand with the use of remotely operated vehicles, aircraft and shipping. It is perhaps too early, although there is insufficient information available at present, to predict exactly how this will impact Lloyd's. It was recently mentioned that the global expenditure on emerging technology is set to triple to $100 billion over the next 25 years. It is certainly an emerging market as far as insurance opportunities for Lloyd's are concerned. Drones are now and will be used for a range of activities, of course, including military, agriculture, public services, delivery, security, wildlife protection and research. However, Lloyd's has identified some areas of concern around, certainly concerning regulation, safety and security. Drone manufacturers and users could face increasingly complex and high-value risk exposures as the market continues to expand quickly, and will need to work with regulators and insurers to ensure that technology is used safely and responsibly. By providing the support needed for these systems to operate safely and with due regard for third-party interests, Lloyd's will have a huge part to play in the use and development of drones. If for no other reason, they will have a big say in the risk management and loss control as we head towards the next 25 years. And finally, I hope you found my talk informative. With the way modern technology is presently progressing, Lloyd's will play a huge part in this development. Likewise, as the Institute faces the challenges of the next quarter of a century, I'm confident Lloyd's will be right behind you. Thank you.